Okay, folks, so we've had some questions recently about how to best use Rogue to respond to broad agency announcements. And if you've been in the government contracting space and you don't do research and development, maybe you're not familiar with BAAs. If you are in the research and development space, if you do any kind of work for DARPA, the national labs, AFRL, NRL, NIH, CDC, right? These places that do research, right? They put out solicitations looking for research and development. They differ from traditional solicitations because they are so broad, right? And you can see BAAs come out for a range of different things, right? If you go to, say, Special Operations Command or DARPA, any of the DoD labs, many of the Health and Human Service labs, National Institute of Health, they often have a broad agency announcement, right? The entire organization wide, right? This is SOCOM's broad agency announcement, and it's open for, I think, 5 to 10 years. And they don't specifically identify what they want, right? This is not a solicitation where they say, you need to produce 5,000 pens. This is a solicitation where they say, we are trying to make these broad objectives in research and development, and we want your approach to making those advancements. So we can see, here in the SOCOM range, it's pretty broad. They have these broad categories of research they want to do. Same thing that goes with DARPA. They have these broad categories, even within a particular technology area, right? If I'm going to look at when DARPA puts out a particular program, right, they start a new program, they may be focused on a particular type of technology, but even within that type of technology, they generally have broad research categories, right? So this one I think is for space. 6 hypotheses for accelerating lunar economy. Even within that focus area, right? They have a macro overall focus. They have sub-research areas like centralized thermal, rejection and generation as a service, right? That is a research focus. You could propose to just research that particular area, or you could propose to research on widespread orbital lunar prospecting and surveying, okay? You could propose to research on both of those or only one of those, okay? Same thing goes for NIH, right? These broad research taskings in these broad research categories. So when we look in the context of Rogue and when we are creating our outlines and our proposals, we need to give the AI a little bit more focus. Okay, so when I come in to create a new proposal, let's use SOCOM as an example because it is near and dear to my particular heart. We'll give this a SOCOM BAA response. Okay, and then when we go to do our outline, it does not work to just upload the BAA. And why is that? Well, because according to, you're providing that information to the AI is going to try to respond to that entire BAA. And let's go back and put this in context, in the context of the SOCOM BAA. This thing is only 12 pages long, right? Not terribly, oh wait, hold on, SOCOM BA. So 25 pages long, not a whole lot of detail or instruction on what they actually want you to write to, okay? They give you some white paper criteria, how they want you to submit your white paper. But, in terms of guidelines for the AI, there's not a whole lot for the AI to extract and understand here, right? So you're gonna have to give it a little bit more guidance. And within that, there are multiple topics here and subtopics, right? Signature management has a number of subtopics, right? Next generation mobility has subtopics underneath it. So when the AI reads this and goes, what does the user want me to write to? It could be any one or more likely all of those topics. And it's going to try to generate a coherent proposal outline based off of all of those topics, which is not what you want, right? You want it to focus on just the topic you need. So let's give it a little bit more guidance here. Let's start with effectively, and the other challenge here is it doesn't have, these BAAs often don't have clearly structured sections L and M, right? In the context of SOCOM here, they only want a white paper and a quad chart, and here is your white paper outline, right? These are your instructions. 5 pages, cover page, quad chart, integrated master schedule, fine. Cover page, okay, that tells you what the cover page is, fine. And the offer shall submit a description of the scope of work necessary to satisfy the BAA stated technical challenges and described objectives. Super, okay? That doesn't give the AI a whole lot to work with, to be honest with you. But for us, we can do this, right? So basically, all SOCOM wants here is a 5-page technical white paper with a cover sheet and a quad chart that they can file. That's fine. We can work with that. We're just going to take that technical instruction, we'll put it in here. Now, is this going to take a little bit more extra time on the front end for us to get a coherent answer out? Perhaps, okay? But this is the nature of proposing to research topics. It takes a little bit more creativity, a little bit more insight on your part, because what the government fundamentally is looking to assess is not just what you're doing, right? Your technical approach to performing the research, you know, having worked in S&T organizations, they are also assessing you, right? They are hiring you as their fee for service, right? They're contracted researchers. And so they need to trust that you know how to put together a technical approach, right? And so this is actually not a bad outline for a 5-page technical proposal, okay? So here's our technical approach, risk areas, design maturity, additional technical data. So from a compliance perspective, this is fully compliant with what the government is actually asking for, right? Because they don't give us specific sections that we have to include. So we can kind of build out that outline with some freedom from our perspective. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. I personally, if I was going to build this out, I like to use the Heilmeier Catechism from the old DARPA days. So I would structure this and answer the Heilmeier questions of, you know, what are you trying to do in very plain language? You know, what's new in your approach? If you're successful, who cares? I like the Heilmeier construct. What the AI pulled out and interpreted from the nascent instruction that we gave it was to do this, right? Technical approach, technical risk areas, design maturity, all this makes total sense. And then the important part is within this structure, within this outline, and we can actually bring these in so they're not independent, volumes. We can then start adding subsections. So I want to articulate my technical approach. And this is where we can go back into the actual topic that we're going to write to. Let's go with, I like signature management. Okay. And this is where we can start lacing in the actual topic information and how we're going to answer these specific topic items, okay? So if I'm going to respond, let's say that we're going to do, you know, radio frequency signature management, right? I'm going to pull in some of the content from the actual BAA, and I'm going to use that a little bit to my advantage in sort of responding to what the government is asking for. And I'll just go ahead and tailor my instruction, just the way that I would instruct a subordinate proposal writer. I'm going to instruct the AI on kind of how I want it to respond to this thing. Now, this is not rephrasing or regurgitating, right? The government hates that, and the AI isn't going to do that sort of cliche regurgitation. But I am going to use their own language when I craft my technical approach, which is frankly a best practice, right? The government wants you to respond to the technical challenge that they've identified specifically. So here I can actually build out, how am I going to answer these specific things? And I can do that in this initial instruction so that when the AI goes to generate my initial draft, it does so with the insights of the government solicitation. Now, while I'm doing this, I want to go ahead and set the section length, right? So this white paper has to be, I think, no longer than 5 pages. So be cognizant, be aware of how much content you set for each section. Maybe we'll set 2 paragraphs for that. Now, what I like to do, particularly, with BAAs, we're talking about research topics, right? So what I like to do is really kind of build out my proposed approach in my outline, right? So maybe I want to use um, FPGAs for um, low swap RF signature management processing, something like that, right? And so, here I need to give it some instructions, right? It's probably best if I do. This little magic button here is a bit of an assistant, even in that task, right? Where I've given it a title for this section, right? FPGA for low swap RF signature management processing. But what do I know? Like, what am I going to put in this section? Well, if I hit the little magic button, it will give me an example instruction to give to the AI. And so you can kind of see and learn by doing, you can see the structure of what an instruction should look like, right? So here we have what the AI gave us as an instruction to the AI, right? So provide a comprehensive overview of the proposed FPGA-based solution, low swap RF signature management will be utilized. So that's actually a pretty good instruction. If I have some specific things I want to put in there, right? Like maybe I know a particular FPGA I want to use. Maybe I have a particular, chip architecture that's kind of my secret sauce. I can go ahead and then use this as my base, right? Use this as my sort of framework, and then I can edit this and tailor it to my particular proposal. And again, I'm going to go ahead and edit I'm going to adjust how much content we put into that section. And so here, as we're responding to that BAA, we can do the outline of our technical solution right here in the outline development interface. And we tell our customers, pretty consistently that like a little bit of time on the outline saves a lot of time in writing, right? Let the AI take its first cut at building out that first draft by informing this outline. So we can go ahead and say, maybe we want to use, how about software defined radios for dynamic RF signature management sensors and emitters, something like that, right? Again, I'm going to propose I'm going to use software-defined radios to dynamically sense and counter my RF signature. So again, I can use this magic button. And if you have your own way, you already have sort of your thought process of how you're going to propose this stuff. You by no means have to use this magic button, right? It's just an option there for you if you would like a little bit of assistance in building out this instruction, right? Cool. One thing I want to note is, let's see, team qualification composition. For resumes, right, if you know that you have a resume on the shelf, this is a good place to call it out. So let's say something like principal investigator, right? And I can actually, again, make a specific instruction, uh, give a one-page John Ferry's resume in the context of this solicitation. I'm going to, once again, I'll set the character objective for 5 paragraphs. It's about a page. Now, I've named myself. I know that I have my resume on the data shelf. If you don't know that you have the resume on the data shelf, then you should first ensure that you have that person's resume on the data shelf. If you tell the AI to give you the summary of a resume that is not on your data shelf, it will invent the person. Another thing to note here is, and the best way to ensure that you get kind of the output, particularly for resumes or past performances, right? If you want your, if you want the AI to sort of focus on a particular document off your data shelf, you'll see below the section here, we have this reference document dropdown. Okay, so I give a one-page summary of John Ferry's resume. That's all good and fine, but let's actually give the AI reference to John Ferry's resume. Okay. Okay, there's my resume. So we'll actually provide that resume to the AI. So maybe you have multiple resumes you could use here. Um, Same thing goes for past performance, right? If I know that I've talked about the use of FPGAs in a particular document, maybe I have an old proposal that I want to use, or I just want to look at past performance, right? I can pull in, I actually have any experience using FPGAs, but if I did, I could pull that past proposal or that past MSR, that past document in as specified document, right? So I can control not just what the AI is writing, but I can actually control what documents it's referencing when it's doing that. I can actually pick multiple documents, so I can really dial in what I want that AI to write to. Okay. So when we're good with that, we'll just hit save on these. All right, I've dictated what I want. Then we'll go to actually creating the document. All right, so here's the title, technical proposal, that's fine. Outline, here is our outline, great. And to the document description, so we'll just pop back over to the BAA and we'll pull out this description. And maybe particularly with broad agency announcements, right? We're going to write to this particular topic, and this is pretty common in a lot of the larger BAs, like an agency-wide broad agency announcement. There will be a number of macro topics like next generation mobility, and then some subtopics, and then even subtopics, right? So we're writing specifically to cyber digital signature management, but the AI probably needs context on all of this, right? Because our work on cyber digital signature management is overall supporting the context of signature management in general. So let's grab all of that and give that to the AI here. Okay, and it'll build that out. Give us some win themes we can work with. Right, and if I want, I don't necessarily have to take what the AI has given me for granted. I can still go back here to the solicitation, and maybe I want to kind of double tap what we're working on here. I'll just take that whole topic by itself and make sure that it's in there in whole cloth. I also don't have to take the win themes for granted, right? Maybe I want to ensure that we use a modular open systems architecture. Say open system approach to share openly interfaces and future system extensibility, something like that, right? So I still want to make my own. Want to make my own win themes here. So we're not beholden to what the AI gives us. We still have control. And then we'll just hit next. Let's do a quick review, right? Here we have the title. We can change that if we want by going to the title page, the description of the requirement here, and the win themes. We can always change that by going back to the description page, and then the actual proposal outline here. We can modify that if we want by going back to the outline page. And then the deep dive, right? We want to probably ensure the deep dive is on. If you turn it off, then the AI is not indexing your data shelf, right? It's just generating from its foundational model knowledge and our tuning. But keeping that on, which it is by default, it indexes off of your war room and organization level data shelf, which is what most of us all want. And then we'll just hit create. Cool. So now we have our initial draft. Not quite. It might be about 5 pages, but it's got all the components to it. And then once we're in here, obviously we can use all the AI tools to our heart's content. Right? You can expand, use the chat, use the contraction, all those things. But just want to give you kind of a quick run through of how best to use Rogue with the more open-ended sort of exploratory solicitations, the ones that are not, directly telling you what the government wants, right? The ones that are kind of asking you to give them a solution for a range of problems. And that is really what the broad agency announcement is all about. So hope this was helpful. Tune in for more videos in the future. Thanks.